We're about 25 miles north of Atlanta, Georgia, at the East Cobb Baseball Complex, where the championship hardware is on the line next. Beautiful downtown Atlanta, Georgia, the host side of this 2017 U.S. Club Nationals presented by Triple Crown Sports. Welcome in to our coverage of the 13U Championships, where we have a matchup today. It's the Dallas Tigers versus the hometown kids, the East Cobb Astros. Once again, they featured in our 14U game as well. Here's a little bit of breakdown of this event. It is the second year of this championship event. It includes invitations from the nation's top clubs. Teams compete for age group titles and for an overall organizational national title. Each individual championship, including this one right here, will count towards that overall championship. Hello again, my name is Thomas Hoffman. I'm welcomed here by Pierre Longoria. And Pierre, we have a fantastic matchup here today, and what an event for these kids.
What an exciting week of baseball, Thomas, all around. Class event, top to bottom. Triple Crown's done a great job with it. The kids have been excited. It's been an exciting week of baseball, as I mentioned. Two great teams, very well coached, very polished. We're in for a great championship here to cap off the 2017 USA Nationals.
It should be a fun one here as we get ready between the Dallas Tigers and the East Cobb Astros. We saw East Cobb win in that 14U game. Here's a look at the East Cobb lineup in their 13U. Sutton Smith will lead it off, followed by Ben Hamaker, Thad Ector. Jared Jones will bat in that cleanup spot at the DH, the extra hitter, Traylon White. Dylan Lesko will get the start today, as will William Mosley. Trey Sanders and Burnin Wilkins out there will round out the order. So we look today at Trenton Shaw, the Dallas Tigers pitcher, who gets the start. And Pierre, right away, you notice his physical strength and size on the mound.
Thomas, I was going to mention an imposing presence he has out there. These guys, I think, are going to be in for an interesting afternoon. I'm very interested to see how he comes out of the gate. And one of the things in talking with the Dallas, their coach on Media Day, was they came a long way. They didn't come here to lay down. This history of this complex, of this organization, is certainly very storied, very well known. But that being said, as I mentioned, Dallas, these players, this coach, these guys are here to win, and it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to that imposing presence.
Yeah, Dallas and their head coach, Chad Polk, it's been all business this week for the Tigers. This is a team that came here with a mission, and you see Chad Polk right there on your screens. He's just focused all week long.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I think you notice about all these teams. Again, it's a national, it's an invite. These folks are here to win. Don't get me wrong, they're still in a lot of development stages, if you will, as players and as teams, but these organizations play a great brand of baseball, and they did come here to showcase just that.
All right, well, Sutton Smith will lead things off for the Astros. He will face Shaw, the big imposing left-hander, as we said, gets the start. It should be a fantastic matchup. Two of the best teams coming out of pole play. And away we go as Shaw misses high for ball one against Sutton Smith, the Atlanta, Georgia native. Out here today, plays a little outfield, plays a little second base, as that one is in there for strike one to even up the count 1-1.
I think location is going to be very important throughout this game for these young kids especially. It's been a long week of baseball. We'll see if the fatigue catches up with them. And it looks like there, maybe it did.
Maybe it did. We saw that a lot in the 14U championship games, and DeVargas, who got the start for the Astros in that one, after that big third inning, you sit around, some of that lactic acid kind of builds up in your muscles, and you're not able to do the same things you were in the first inning.
Well, there's been a lot of talk this week, Thomas, as you know, about the heat down here. It's been stifling. And these folks from Dallas are not unfamiliar with the heat, but it's been certainly taking its toll, I think, on some of these folks.
That one misses high again, and that will be ball four. So let's take a look at the defense for the Dallas Tigers. Of course, Shaw getting the start on the mound. He will throw to Polk there at catching. Jason Jones out there in third. Davis at shortstop. Owen Peck at second. Hoover at first. Thomas in left, Bergman in center, and Delaney in right field. And that's another ball there for ball one. Shaw now facing Hamaker. And Ben Hamaker, a Marietta native. As we check over to the runner at first, we saw that a lot in the 14U game. This is an Astros team that's very, very aggressive on the base paths, looking to steal them whenever they can.
Well, and that's also key. You know, the funny thing that we've been mentioning throughout the course of this week is some of the arms on these kids as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if they take advantage early, the man on first, and see if they can't get a guy into scoring position.
Shot in there for strike one. 1-1 the count now on Hamaker. Shaw looks over. That one swung on and fouled out of play.
Hamaker batting a solid .579 throughout the course of this tournament so far, so we're expecting big things out of him, as I think probably the coaching staff is as well.
That's not too shabby. 5+ in this grueling week of baseball here in Georgia. Shaw takes a look at the runner, now throws over. The big lefty might be difficult to get those stolen bases that we're talking about. Shaw looks over. That one misses just high. 2-2 the count now on Hamaker.
You know, that brief rain that we had, Thomas, I think may have helped out the heat just a little bit. It seems to have cooled down a tad, and I'm sure the players are very appreciative of that.
Certainly to finish off this championship game. That one swung on and missed for strike three. Hamaker goes down.
Heavy
Shaw
cut
gets
there.
his first strikeout.
Your heavy cut with two strikes. You've got to protect that one there. I think was just a little bit high.
So now Shaw digs in once again. Now facing Thad Hector. Now we're going to get the throw is wild, and that will allow Smith all the way to second. They talked about how aggressive they wanted to be. Here's the throw over from Shaw. That one gets away from Josh Hoover at first. Smith scampers down. That one right up to the second baseman, Peck. Peck will throw over to get the out, but that will move the runner over. Smith gets to third, but 2 away here in the first.
2 outs there, Thomas, and you know, with a lefty on the mound, certainly the hitters are going to try to, or the runners I should say, are going to try to stay a little closer to the bag, which obviously works in Dallas's favor. They'll take that whenever they can get it. If he's going to give it to him, Dallas has got to be very careful not to give them do them any favors, I guess I should say.
So that brings up Jared Jones. Jones swings on the first pitch as he sees Delaney back in right, is under it, and makes the catch for out number 3. So East Cobb does not score the first. We are tied at 0 going to the bottom of the first.
You love your game? So does he. You say ain't nobody gonna work harder? He said the same thing. You get an hour of training in before the sun even comes up, plenty of early risers out there. You got the gear, they got the gear. You got a secret weapon, this dude doesn't need one. See, this isn't just a game of inches, this is a game of ounces. And the next ounce you give might just be the one the other guy doesn't. Gatorade, rehydrate, replenish, and refuel.
The TCUS Club Nationals on ESPN are brought to you by Triple Crown Sports, Gatorade, and Zephyr Headwear. Welcome back here to East Cobb as we are knotted up at 0 after the first half inning. Let's take a look here at the Dallas Tigers lineup It'll be Owen Peck to lead off. Jared Thomas follows him. Jason Jones batting third. Trenton Shaw, the pitcher, bats cleanup. Walker Polk after him. Jacob Delaney, Josh Hoover, Tommy Delaney, and John Calvin Davis rounds out the order for the Tigers. So there is Sutton Smith, the East Cobb starting pitcher. Sutton Smith, who leads off for the Astros. See that so often here in the youth game. Guys that are able to do both, pitch and bat. True athletes. Smith digs in. That one swung on and into right field. That will get down on his horse is Peck all the way to second, and he's off with a leadoff double.
Here's so Dallas is going to come out swinging the bats. First pitch there into right field, get made into scoring position, put a little bit of pressure on the pitcher and on the Astros.
Here's another look at Peck. Ball up in the zone, got a hold of it, drove it opposite field to right. Very speedy Peck gets all the way to second.
Nice looking swing there, very well balanced. You can tell he was looking for that pitch coming out of the gate.
There's a bunt there by Thomas, and everybody is safe. Runners at the corners, nobody out. A fantastic bunt.
A little bit of small ball there, Thomas. I expected with a lefty, of course, in the 2-hole. You want to hit behind the runner. Laying down that bunt, I think, caught all of us by surprise.
Yeah, it got everybody, and the speedy Jared Thomas got to first. So here comes Jason Jones. And I watched Jason Jones hit a towering opposite field home run down on field 5 just 2 days ago. Certainly has power. Facing Smith. That one high for ball 1.
Thomas, one of the things we were talking about the other day, these kids, for a lot of these kids, they're looking at their 85th, 90th game of the summer. How well polished and fundamentally sound some of these kids are. It's just, it's phenomenal.
The focus it takes to get through a summer. Jones lifts one into center field. Peck on the bag. Lackey makes the catch. Peck holds up halfway through. Maybe could have got there, but conservative effort there from.
I was surprised that he held up there. Your leadoff man is on third. That's his job, is to get his way around the bases. That ball was fairly well hit, and I thought for sure he was going to come home on that one.
Here's the defense for East Cobb. Sanders pitching, Hicks catching, Ector at third, Lesko at shortstop, Hamaker at second, Wilkins at first. In left field is Sanders, Layton at center, and Collins out and right. And there's one through the gap from Shaw. That will score Peck. So Chad Polk opts for the right decision, holding his runner Peck, and that one scores one. Dallas Tigers up 1-0 early.
It paid off. Well, it's easy for us to sit up here and talk about those things, Thomas, but these guys know their kids. They know what they're capable of, and you got a lefty up at the bat right there, and it's just a great looking swing. Takes that ball, pulls it into right field, and does his job, gets the run home. So again, they're putting the pressure on East Cobb very early today.
So Shaw will get the courtesy runner out there for him. That's Jackson Haynes out there running at first. And here comes Walker Polk. That ball misses for ball number 1.
One of the highlights of Walker's career so far is a 400-foot shot that he hit, apparently.
400 feet.
And he's only 13. That's some power.
365 to left center, just 315 to that fence and left. Polk turns on one. That will go just foul. Says third base umpire Rich Phillips. Got Gary Maxwell behind the plate here today. Lance Blocker at first, Todd Marler at second, and of course Rich Phillips at third.
Marlar's done a lot of umpiring at the AA level in the minor leagues, and class act all the way around. He's done a heck of a job behind the plate this week.
Polk turns on one to third. Ector throws it to second. That one will go into right field. Around the corner is Thomas. Coming to third is Haynes, and he is safely in there. As once again, runners on the corner, and another run across for the Dallas Tigers. They lead now 2-0. Another look here as Ector trying to start the double play. That throw just a little wide.
I think he rushed that a little bit, Thomas. Those are just ones you don't want to give away. I mean, you've got to do a better job of getting the ball to second base there, but I think he rushed it just a tad.
So now here comes Delaney. Jacob Delaney out of Prosper, Texas. His grandpa here to watch him, as well as his dad, Mike. Came all the way from Texas.
Some very well-traveled teams this week, Thomas. Met a lot of folks from all across the country, and of course also we had an organization come in from Toronto. Very nice to see.
That one misses for ball 2. He says he can eat more than anyone on the team.
These boys are growing. These boys are growing. Very impressed with some of the size of these kids too, Thomas. All week, you forget sometimes that these are still kids.
That one lifted into center, and it gets all the way to the wall for Delaney. That will score Haynes. Livingston around to third, and Delaney in with a stand-up double, and Dallas leads 3-0.
They are aggressive. I think East Cobb, I don't know if they expected them to come out swinging the bats the way they have, but I think moving forward they better start to adjust a little bit and see if they can't maybe start locating some pitches away from the plate.
That one from Delaney comes inside, does a great job of turning on it. That one got all the way to the wall, 385 out there in center, and that will get head coach Ben Blumenthal out there to talk to his pitcher, Trey Sanders. From Blumenthal out there, it's early. Pierre, you're down 3-0. What's this conversation like?
I think at this point it's just, hey, we're still early. Let's settle down. Let's find a rhythm, especially for the pitcher. Make sure he settles. This might be a little bit of nerves coming for him. It is the last game, not just of this age division for this team, but of the tournament itself. So I think he may have come in with a little bit of bundle of nerves. He's being watched on television, and let's just settle it down, find a rhythm, get into your groove, and they'll get there. They've got the bats to come back on this, so I don't think they're worried about that.
So here comes Josh Hoover. That one misses low for ball 1. And Delaney, of course, at second with the double. Livingston, the runner at third. Just one out here in the bottom of the first. Pitch from Sanders misses again, ball 2. Trying to find some sort of consistency to get out of this inning, let the leakage stop. That one swung on to short. Lesko has it, throws over to first to get the out, but a run will score, and that makes it 4-0.
Well, Thomas, he did his job there. He knew that he had to put the ball into play. He did that. Very well played, actually, by the shortstop there on that backhand. And again, that's a showcase right there of what we've been talking about, the solid fundamentals and the mechanics on these kids. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, you have to give up the run in sacrifice for the out, and that brings up Tommy Delaney. Ball 1. Delaney out of Colleyville, Texas. Favorite movie, Major League.
One of my favorites as well. That's not something you typically hear from a 13-year-old. Joe Boo, however, did make an appearance the other day at Media Day, which I was very impressed with. I think it was a Dallas Pirates kid had brought his Joe Boo doll with him.
Gotta love that. The pitch is swung on and popped down the first base line and out of play.
That's a ball I think he'd like to have back. It was in on him, came right off the handle, and just wasn't going to be able to do much with that pitch.
Trey Sanders trying to get out of this inning. That one swung on and rocketed towards Polk in the third base coach's box. Got to stay nimble sometimes.
I tell you what, you know, it looks as though he's looking to pull the ball, and I'm surprised that they're not shading their center field a little bit more towards left center. There's a lot of room there in between that left fielder and that center fielder. We'll see if he can't locate that.
Delaney puts a charge into this one. It's right there in left center. Smith under it to make the catch, and that will end inning number 1. But the Tigers get 4 across here at the end of the first. Here's a look at how they did it. Owen Peck with the double, a nice bunt over, and the Dallas Tigers jump on top 4-0. Welcome back here to East Cobb, Georgia, where the Dallas Tigers have taken the lead 4-0. The U.S. Club Nationals is on Twitter. Follow tournament news and get the latest updates using the handle @TCS Nationals, or join in on the conversation using the hashtag TCSports. It was a big inning for the Dallas Tigers. They scored 8 runs in the first inning in their semifinal game. So bring him in, bring him quick.
And they did just that. You know, East Cobb finds themselves into an early hole as that ball gets by the center fielder.
White lines it past Bergman in center field, and on his horse he goes. He's around second. Bergman trying to get it in, and White will get all the way to third base.
And that's an example of what I was just about to mention, Thomas. You know, East Cobb into an early hole. Coming off the field, you thought these kids might have been up 4 runs. You know, you could tell they weren't fazed by it. They've been here before, and this is no strange place for them to be.
Bergman trying to make the diving play, just gets under his glove, and Traylon White gets all the way to third, and East Cobb threatening here with Lesko at the plate. He takes one to second. Peck makes the play to first, but White will score, and East Cobb's on the board. 4-1.
And again, did his job. Got a man on third. You know they're going to come out and be aggressive. They're going to be sending him if that ball's on the ground. And it wasn't very well hit. He had plenty of time to get home and make that.
So Shaw gets the first out of the inning, gives up his first run. And that brings up Willie Mosley. They call him Willie on the team. Willie Mosley.
Sounds like a ball player's name, doesn't it, Thomas?
Willie Mosley takes the first ball, 1-0. His favorite baseball memory is Cooperstown, as he takes balls too.
Hear a lot of the teams talk about their visits to Cooperstown, and it's nice to see these youngsters taking an appreciation for the history of the sport, and it shows really how appreciative they are to be playing this game. It's refreshing to see.
Students of the game, certainly. His claim to fame, Pierre, he was the runner-up in his 5th grade spelling bee.
Spelling bee, we say ESPN itself broadcasting spelling bee these days. Hey, you know, good for him.
He gets 4 balls right there, and another runner on first base for the Tigers. And that brings up Sanders. Sanders, the pitcher, trying to help himself out. That one high for ball one. Shaw digging in. Swung on and missed for strike one. A big hack there from Sanders.
And you can see with that big lefty on the mound there how close they're staying to first base. He's doing a good job of holding them back. And
now we're going to get the pickoff. They had him, but Owen Peck couldn't make the catch. And Will Mosley makes his way to second base.
I can see the shortstop there, Thomas, just needs to get that ball into the glove. I think he was focused a little bit too much on the runner, and you can't give these East Cobb Astros any more chances to get runners into scoring position than you have to.
That's another strike. 1-2 the count now on Sanders. With Mosley at second. One out here in the top of the second. That one outside. 2-2 the count. That one swung on and missed again. The second strikeout for Trenton Shaw.
And Shaw with that long body, he's got an interesting delivery. It looks again very fundamentally sound, and look at that.
Great location on the outside corner.
Got him to chase that ball just a little bit away.
This brings up Burnin Wilkins. That one swung on and missed again. Shaw starting to find a rhythm here in the second inning. Favorite baseball player, Jason Hayward.
Jason Hayward, coincidentally, an East Cobb Astro alum. One of the many major leaguers actually to come out of this park in this organization. 200 total, I believe, in the last 20 years, Thomas, they've had drafted into the major leagues. That's incredible.
That one misses high for ball two. 2-1 the count here on Wilkins. Wilkins' favorite player, Jason Hayward, and a relative of Dominique Wilkins. All sorts of Atlanta sports running through his veins. And when check swing did not go.
He held up. Looked like he was looking fastball.
Oh, now they appeal and they do say yes.
I thought he held that up. You could tell it looked like he was looking fastball coming out of the gate, but realized it was going to be just a bit high, and apparently wasn't able to check that.
And got him. Called strike three to end the inning. East Cobb gets one, but they still trail by three. Dallas Tigers lead it 4-1.
The Triple Crown tournament has invited a lot of the best travel teams in the country, and the competition was fantastic. The weather was perfect, so we couldn't be more happy to play here.
Love your game? So does he. You say ain't nobody gonna work harder? He said the same thing. You get an hour of training in before the sun even comes up? Plenty of early risers out there. You got the gear, they got the gear. You got a secret weapon, this dude doesn't need one. See, this isn't just a game of inches. This is a game of ounces. And the next ounce you give might just be the one the other guy doesn't. Gatorade. Rehydrate, replenish, and refuel.
Welcome back to East Cobb, Georgia, just 25 miles north of beautiful downtown Atlanta, not too far from where we'll have the closing ceremonies of this great championship at SunTrust Park.
A premier Class A event, as I mentioned, Thomas, top to bottom. Tonight we're going to cap it off over at SunTrust Park at the Battery. Domingo Ayala is going to be in the house. He's going to join us for a little bit of entertainment, so that ought to be a fun time. The kids are absolutely jacked for that.
Atlanta Braves alum Brian Jordan will also be in attendance. It's going to be a great time, but not till after this 13U championship is decided. Sanders back on the mound. He faces John Calvin Davis, and the ball misses just barely for ball one.
You know, one of the things Triple Crown really puts a focus on is making sure it's not just great baseball, but a great experience. That's for the parents, for the players, and for everybody involved. And certainly at a Class A facility here, and having opening ceremonies with Media Day on Monday, closing ceremonies tonight at the Battery, SunTrust Park. It's been very well run, and it's been a very enjoyable time.
Davis takes strike one, 2-1 the count now on Davis. His mom, Amanda, and dad, Matt, both in attendance here today. He plays a little shortstop, a little second base now and again as that one goes up the middle. Lesko has it, throws over to first to get the first out of the inning. So another fundamental play there we see from the East Cobb Astros. Lesko very solid at short.
You continue your coaches all week, Thomas, mentioning how you know their focus is to really develop these kids. You can tell that 85, 90 games into the season that's something that they've been putting a focus on. Really, is mechanics and just making sure they're playing the game the right way and not trying to do too much.
And that brings up Owen Peck. The one outside, 1-1 the count now on Peck.
So we get a look at
Ben
and Coach Blumenthal. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Foul back, 1-2 now on Peck. Blumenthal describes himself, Pierre, as ripped, ruggedly handsome.
You know, there's no shortage of confidence from the coaching staff down. You can see the way these kids carry themselves, and I think right there that tells you where they're getting it from.
That looked pretty good right there. Down on strikes is Owen Peck for the second out of the inning.
And I think Sanders starting to settle in just a little bit. He's getting an idea where the umpire's zone is at and how he needs to locate, and he's doing a good job of getting these guys out and hopefully getting East Cobb back into the batter's box.
Brings up Jared Thomas. Thomas likes to play a little basketball in his spare time. His favorite movie, 42.
Which I'm ashamed to say I've yet to see.
It's a great movie. Jackie Robinson lays down a bunt. Thomas bunted on in the first, and he does it again here in the bottom of the second.
Safe to say they did not expect that. They wanted to get a runner on with 2 outs. Good job of getting on base.
That brings up Jason Jones. Here's the bunt from Thomas, just perfectly down the third base line, right in between the pitcher and the third baseman there. Thad Hector communicating well. There's just nothing that the Astros could do in that case. Just a perfect bunt. So that one's in there for strike number 1.
And the importance of communication, especially at this age level, Thomas, can't be understated. We've heard coaches talking about it all week long, continuing to tell their players to communicate and communicate. Very important.
Time called by Jason Jones.
Jason Jones apparently puts a focus on his academics, looking to be a neurologist someday if he doesn't make it into the major leagues.
What a lofty goal. I love it.
Indeed.
So Thomas being watched over there at first from Sanders. Jones sets in again, 1-1 against him. Here's the pitch. That one high and inside for ball number 2, 2-1 against Jones. Big Trenton Shaw waiting on deck. one outside for ball number 3.
Jones doing a very good job of being patient and working himself into a good count here. 3-1. You got a man on first, 2 outside. I'm expecting he's looking for a fastball.
That one outside for ball number 4. So a couple of base runners now for the Tigers as the pitcher, Trenton Shaw, tries to help himself out. A base hit would likely score Thomas.
Well, in a 2-out walk to extend the inning and bring up the cleanup hitter, that's certainly something that could come back to haunt you. We'll see if they can take advantage of this.
Shaw calls time. Mentioned how important this game is for the overall club standings at the end of the tournament. East Cobb trying to chase down the 5-star Tigers. That ball outside.
And Sanders suddenly having a hard time locating. You bring up a good point there, though. One of the unique things about this event, Thomas, is the fact that there's an overall organizational trophy. So there are individual champions throughout the age group, and then that will build into a collection for the Big Cup for the 2017 USA Nationals, which will go to the organizational winner.
That one low for ball 2. East Cobb did win that 2016 club championship. They got the big shiny trophy. That's the Stanley Cup looking thing.
It is a little Stanley Cup-esque, and the kids, the looks on these kids' faces when they set their eyes on that thing is very cool to see. And one of the things that the kids and coaches alike continue to talk about, Thomas, is the importance of representing their organization and not just their team. And to hear them put a focus on that and realize that there really is a bigger picture here, I think is pretty impressive.
One taken for a strike. 2-1 now on Shaw. And just like Jason Jones was, very patient at the plate.
Trenton also has a twin brother, which tells me that Shaw grocery bill's got to be a little lofty.
Certainly.
A couple of big kids, and he is the second youngest on the team also, which is interesting, I guess, to say the least.
Throwback on Thomas. He's back safely. Sanders digs in. That one swung on and lifted to left field. Smith ranging over and will make the catch running. What an impressive catch by Mr. Smith out in left field. Let's take a look at this one more time. Galloping into left center. Dallas Tigers still lead it though, 4-1. Welcome back here to East Cobb, Georgia, where the Dallas Tigers are on top 4-1 over the East Cobb Astros. For athletes who move the game forward, we're creating the fuel to get you there. Tested in the lab, proven on the field. Gatorade Thirst Quencher, the proven sports fuel. So Trenton Shaw, Pierre, back onto the mound with this 4-1 lead, and looking for a quick inning here.
Well, he's dealing. He's only given up the one hit. Of course, Dallas has that one error, which was a little bit of a costly one, but he seems to have settled in very well, and he's on a roll, and I think East Cobb would love to get a runner on here and see if they can't get some momentum going their direction.
So that brings up Kane Collins. They call him Bulldog on the team. Ball misses for ball number 1-0.
Kane coming from the state of Tennessee, which shows you how far some of these folks travel to get down here to play East Cobb baseball.
Georgia baseball certainly among the nation's best.
Last year's 2016 Triple Crown USA Nationals, East Cobb had a kid flying down from New Hampshire almost every weekend to play ball with these guys.
One swung on and missed for strike number 1. 2-1 now on Collins. He swung on and fouled back out of play. Evens the count at 2-2. That one high. Draws the count full. 3-2 here as Shaw battles Collins.
With nobody on, working out of the stretch.
Fouled back again. A nice job by Collins keeping this at-bat alive. So he settles back in. There's the pitch, swung on and missed. Shaw gets the K, and one gone here in the top of the third.
Well, it's a leadoff hitter with a 3-2 count. Always with 2 strikes, you got to protect the plate. But you can see here, he chased one just a little high, and I think that's one he'd love to have back. As with the coaching staff, I think of the Astros, they would love to have a man on first here to get things going and gain some momentum. But again,
brings up Leighton Lackey. First pitch is above the catcher's mitt. Polk couldn't quite bring that one down, but no harm done. 1-0. Leighton Lackey has pitched a perfect game for this Astros team. The ball misses again. 2-0. That one in there for strike number 1. 2-1 now on Lackey.
And as mentioned, I think Shaw is getting a good idea of the home plate umpire's strike zone and doing a good job of locating and getting those guys to chase as he did there.
The last time these two teams played, which was yesterday, the Tigers led 11-1 after 2 innings. On top 4-1 right now. That one misses just a bit. Once again, a second full count in as many batters.
They're doing a good job staying patient and making him work. Let's see if he can't. I was going to say get himself something to hit. He almost got hit.
Yes, and that will earn the free pass as Lackey down to first. That will turn the lineup over.
Well, there's the base runner they need. It's going to be interesting to see, Thomas, how aggressive they get on the base pass. They'd love to have a guy in the scoring position, but with a lefty on the mound, it's going to be tough to get down there to second, I think, in time to beat a throw.
Sutton Smith back into the batter's box with one gone here. That one swung and fouled back. Sutton Smith walked in the first. His claim to fame, scoring 7 touchdowns in a single football game.
You hear a lot of multi-sport athletes, which is good to see. These kids are staying balanced and staying busy in their off seasons, which for a lot of these kids, actually, Thomas, they don't have. Baseball for many of these kids is a year-round sport, as I mentioned, throughout the course of just these few months. Playing upwards of 90 games, and then of course in the off season they do have training programs and regimens, and we've seen the beautiful facility they have here at East Cobb for their pitchers and throwers to work in the off season as well.
That one just a bit high. 2-1 now the count on Smith. first, not in time.
He does have a fairly healthy lead over there at first with the lefty on mound, which surprises me just a little bit. I'm interested to see if they're going to try to take it back here. And I think Shaw's interested in that as well.
And Lackey that quick. Certainly keeping an eye on. On outside. They have Lackey, and they got him. Walker Polk fires it down to Josh Hoover at first. You're getting a little greedy out there at first.
Hey, defensively, we mentioned you got to be careful not just with your pitcher as a lefty staying close to the bag, but he did get a little bit greedy there, and he wasn't very happy about it, but you can see right there he was definitely out. You hate to see these guys giving away outs on the bases. You know coach isn't going to be happy with that one.
So all of a sudden, 2 gone here in the top of the 3rd. Pitch from Shaw right down Main Street. And the count will go full with 2 outs. And the Tigers leading. That one swung on, popped up, and out of play.
Man, again, down 4-1. We talked about Thomas, how they were down 11-1 yesterday against the same team, and you know that they're looking to score some runs and get on the board early. It's just to make those outs on the base pass is something you don't want to see if you're an East Cobb player or coach or fan for that matter.
That one called strike 3. Another strikeout for Trenton Shaw, and the Dallas Tigers take their lead 4-1 to the bottom of the 3rd.
You love your game? So does he. You say ain't nobody gonna work harder? He said the same thing. You get an hour of training in before the sun even comes up? Plenty of early risers out there. You got the gear, they got the gear. You got a secret weapon, this dude doesn't need one. See, this isn't just a game of inches, this is a game of ounces. And the next ounce you give might just be the one the other guy doesn't. Gatorade, rehydrate, replenish, and refuel.
Welcome back to East Cobb, Georgia. The Dallas Tigers have the lead, headed to the bottom of the 3rd inning here, 4-1 over the hometown East Cobb Astros. And it's been a pretty good game thus far, but the Dallas Tigers just that one big first inning.
Well, that's usually all it takes sometimes is that one big inning. They got off to a great start. We made mention of how aggressive they were at the plate, and they've built themselves up a fairly decent lead here going into the 3rd. And again, East Cobb, if you got runners on the bases, you got to make sure that you do a good job of running them and not giving them any outs.
So here comes Walker Polk. He reached on an air, did score a run, takes strike number 1. Walker Polk, his favorite memory, hitting a home run when the fireworks were going off, little Sandlot style.
What a great deal for these kids. That's one he's probably not going to forget.
There's strike number 2. Quickly 0-2 on Walker Polk as Sanders trying to move along nicely after that first inning. That one offered at and fouled away. Polk will stay alive.
Polk batting a solid .333 for the tournament.
There's the pitch from Sanders. Swung on and fouled back once again from Polk.
That .333 average been good for 7 RBIs, which has certainly helped the Tigers.
Talk about how hot it's been this week. Certainly during our 14U game, the grip on the ball became an issue.
Yeah, we were talking, and Thomas, you're surprised you don't see a rosin bag out there. It is really sticky down here, and that can certainly have effect on your grip and obviously what the ball's going to do and how well you're able to locate.
Pitch in the dirt for ball one.
Can't say enough about the job these umpires have been doing, especially in this heat. It's been stifling down here, and having all that equipment on, especially, they've just been very professional, very well handled. They've called some great games, and in this type of heat, it certainly isn't easy to do that. So we're very appreciative of the job they've done.
That one laced into left field. Smith will throw it back in, but Walker Polk in there with a leadoff single.
Take a look here. I think on a 1-2 count, he might like to have that one back with Sanders. He gave him one to hit. You could tell with 2 strikes, he didn't open that swing up at all. Short, compact, did a good job of pulling that ball and getting on base.
So Polk, the catcher, will get a courtesy runner. It'll be Livingston again, as Delaney checks back into the box. And that one gets away from Hicks, and Livingston rounding second. It takes a look, and all of a sudden with nobody out, we have another runner in scoring position for the Dallas Tigers.
Yeah, I don't think that that pitch that he'd thrown to get that runner out on first was the one that he was looking for, and you can tell that might have rattled him just a little bit. He's having some problems locating, and after giving up those 4 runs early, they may want to get out there and settle him down a bit.
One and 0 against Delaney. That one in there for strike number 1. 1-1. Delaney already with a double and a run batted in today. Pitch from Sanders. Delaney turns on one, but that will go foul. Delaney right on it here in the early going. Sanders gets the look from Hicks. Takes a look over at Livingston. A long look. That one behind Delaney. He grabs a piece of him. So he will take first base. Livingston thought it might have been a pass ball, but he'll trot on back to second.
You know, one of the unique things also about this tournament, Thomas, is the pitch limit, the innings pitch limit. And you wonder what it is East Cobb has left in the tank and in regards to pitching and on that bench there, and whether or not they're going to be thinking about getting somebody warmed up. And they can't afford this early on to be giving up a whole lot of runs here and dig themselves into an even deeper hole.
Certainly was something that may or may not have cost the Tidewater Drillers their matchup against the East Cobb Astros in the 14U championship.
It could have. You know, they had a tough go of it this morning. They had to have a game, and as we've mentioned, the heat, it's been a long week for these kids, and to have them have to turn around, you know, East Cobb coming into that game did not have to play that early game and came in well rested and refreshed. And you get to the back end of a tournament like this, you start to run out of arms, and you need to get a little crafty.
As Josh Hoover turns on one to center field. Under it is a Lackey. Livingston will not tag up. And we have a one away here in the bottom of the third.
Sanders can certainly live with that. Keep the runner there at second. Granted, he's still in scoring position, but if he gets down to third there, a fly ball would have got him home on a sacrifice.
So that brings up Tommy Delaney. Mentioned these dual sport athletes. Tommy Delaney plays football, basketball, soccer, and volleyball.
Well-rounded athlete.
Sanders taking a look, keeping his runners at first and second. Delaney looks on. That one low for ball number 1. Sanders sets. That one high and inside. 2-0 the count now on Tommy Delaney.
Good job of staying patient. As I mentioned, make him work out there. It's been a long week. It's a warm day out there, and if you can get him fatigued early, and again, as I mentioned, East Cobb might want to look at, depending on how this inning goes and what they have left in the tank.
On the chopper towards Hammaker, throws it over to Lesko, fires it over, not in time. Coming home is Livingston, and he will be safe at the plate. So heads up base running from the Tigers, and they get another run. It's now 5-1.
Communication and base running so important. And Livingston, as you mentioned, he had a heads-up play there. He recognized that the guys down at first base, after completing that play, when they tried to turn 2, weren't paying much attention to him, and he took advantage of it.
So here comes John Calvin Davis with 2 outs now in the bottom of the 3rd, and the Tigers stretching their lead. That one finds the strike zone. 1-1 now.
One of the things John Calvin Davis wanted us to mention was the fact that he likes to have fun. And at this age, playing baseball, that's what you need to be doing. You want to develop, but you got to enjoy playing the game, and he certainly does that. Smallest one on the team, and he enjoys it.
And therefore, a strike for Sanders. 1-2 on John Calvin Davis. You love that attitude, especially from such a young kid.
To recognize it is still a game. And you know, as we mentioned, these guys play so much throughout the course of the summer. Sometimes you can see that they do get a little fatigued, a little worn out, but having that attitude certainly is going to bode well for him.
Ball goes inside on Davis. 2-2 the count now for Sanders. With Tommy Delaney at first. That one swung on and into left field. It'll be another single for John Calvin Davis. That allows the order to turn over once again for Owen Peck, but John Calvin Davis, you mentioned, not the biggest guy on the team, but gets ahead of it there, makes excellent contact straight into left field.
Boy, he sure does. Long stride there. Did a good job of getting that runner into scoring position, and those are the little things that can make a big difference. You got 2 outs, but you got a man now on second, and the base hit brings him in, and could be a big little hit for them.
Owen Peck already with a double today. That one swung on, lifted towards the right side, floating under it is Wilkins to make the catch for out number 3, and that will end the 3rd inning. But the Tigers do get a run. They lead by 4 now, 5-1. Welcome on back to East Cobb, Georgia. Dallas Tiger fans having some fun, up 5-1 over the East Cobb Astros. Triple Crown Sports is proud to produce the U.S. Club Nationals. Whatever your game, softball, basketball, baseball, or volleyball, Treat your team right with destination locations, signature memories, and professional staff. Get in the game at triplecrownsports.com. A good look there at Trenton Shaw, who is cruising right now with his team up 5-1, Pierre.
An opposing presence out there. 24 of his 48 pitches that he's thrown so far have been for strikes. Typically, you like to see that number a little higher, but he's been doing a good job, I think, of getting these guys out. And you're right, he's just been kind of cruising along, and with swings at balls out of the strike zone, you're going to be moving along, still just giving up the one hit.
Ben Hammaker misses on that one to go down to 0-1. That one towards Peck. It'll be the first baseman, Hoover, but not making the play is Shaw, and Hammaker will scamper all the way to second.
Talked so much about communication, and right there, somebody's got to let him know to hold on to that ball. He didn't have a chance of getting that runner at first base, and instead of doing that, he tried to rush his throw. Ball got away from Shaw at first base, who did a good job of covering, and all of a sudden you got a man to lead off who's on first base. Excuse me, second rather.
So that brings up Thad Ector. With a runner in scoring position. They call him T-Rex. T-Rex fouls one off. This one's got to hurt Pierre.
Those don't feel good right off the tip of the toe. That's going to sting just a little bit for sure. These kids are tough. My guess is that's not the first one he's taken off that toe throughout the course of this 90-plus game season or whatever it's been. These guys play a lot of baseball, and to get this far into the summer through all those games, you're going to get a few bumps and bruises, and he'll shake it off and get back into the box.
Give credit to the parents, the moms and dads that are out here week in, week out.
Probably, I think, and I've always mentioned this, Thomas, when talking to teams at championship ceremonies and those things, is to certainly give credit to the parents and the moms. We see them in the hotels. We see how hard they work getting the kids back and forth, making sure they're fed, making sure they've got clean uniforms. Kudos to them. They do a great job of traveling, and they're just fantastic to be around. It's been a great bunch this year as well.
That one hits the outside corner quickly. Down 0-2 is Thad Ector.
One of the great things about these invitationals, Thomas, is the opportunities to meet so many folks from across the country. We've got teams here from California and Washington State, far away is Toronto. So you get a chance to meet some folks from all across the country, and it's a great opportunity, as mentioned, between parents and teams, certainly to make some new friends and build some new acquaintances, and that's one of the real special things about these youth tournaments.
That one chopped towards the right side. Hoover has this one. He'll step on the bag. Hammaker will make his way to third. So one away here in the top of the fourth inning.
Well, he got himself out, but did a good job of moving that runner down to third base. Now with one out, a sac fly deep enough is going to get him home, and that's a run certainly East Cobb could use at this point, down 5-1 and in need of some momentum.
I'm sure the Tigers would trade another run for an out.
I think they probably would do that.
As Jared Jones heads to the plate. Breaking ball in the dirt. Good stop there by Walker Polk. Catching so important, especially at this youth level. If you have a good catcher that can act as that wall behind home plate, prevent pass balls, wild pitches.
Without a doubt. You know, we were talking earlier today, Thomas, about, these catchers. We talk about the long season, and as a catcher, it can be very, very long. And these kids, man, boy, they are tough kids, and they do just a phenomenal job. We talked about mechanics and fundamentals, and that's where you see it, I think, almost more than anywhere on the field is behind the dish.
1-1 the count on Jones. That one misses high. 2-1. That one swung on and laced into the gap and drives in the run. 5-2 now. East Cobb gets a run thanks to Jared Jones's RBI single.
Well, Jones, designated hitter, batting .688 for the tournament, 10 RBIs. That's why he's in that position, is to do just that. They had a man in scoring position at third base. And not only did he get him home, but did a good job of getting on base. And this is the momentum I think East Cobb was looking for. We'll see if they can't capitalize on it.
So that brings up Traylon White with a runner on and 2 out, and now Dallas looking for that double play ball.
Traylon, the extra hitter, which is one of the unique things that Triple Crown does with their tournaments, is essentially the extra hitter serves as another positional player, only that position is on the bench. So he's not batting for anyone. He is in there strictly to hit and not in place of anyone else.
Check swing as the ball misses outside. 2-1 the count on White. That pitch inside. 3-1 now. Talking to this Dallas Tigers team during the media days here at East Cobb. They don't like gifts. No free passes, as Shaw gets a strike there. No gifts till Christmas is their motto.
And, you know, organizationally wide, they take the game very serious. A class bunch of guys and a great group. But you're right. They want these kids to earn it, Thomas, and they don't want anything to be given to them.
That one rocketed to center field. Bergman has it, but it'll be another single. This one for Traylon White. Now 2 aboard with only 1 out.
You can see, look at that down low. Does a good job of staying balanced. That front leg stays straight. That was a nice compact swing. He did a very good job of getting that ball into play. And this is, again, the momentum that we were looking at. I'm interested to see here, Thomas, how Trenton Shaw responds with these runners on in East Cobb starting now to gain some momentum in their favor.
And Dylan Lesko, the shortstop, now at the plate. Let's go 0 for 1 with an RBI ground out. And that one lifted into center field. Bergman shading under it. Will make the catch. Not deep enough to advance the runner, so 2 gone here in the top of the 4th.
Well, speaking of gifts, I think that really was 1-2 Dallas right there. I don't think Coach Shaw is going to be very Coach Blumenthal rather is going to be very happy with that. Make Shaw work. He's got a couple of runners on. This is something that he hasn't faced so far in the game. In first pitch to come out there and pop out to center field certainly was what they were looking for. You've got to make him work for that.
That brings up Willie Mosley. And first pitch misses high to Mosley. 1-0 the count with 2 on. Willie walked back in the 2nd inning. That one misses low for ball number 2. 2-0 on Willie. Shaw gets the sign from Polk. That one hits the outside corner. 2-1 now on Mosley.
William_Mosley 37 apparently is his Instagram handle. He's got quite a following there from what I understand.
Social media is so popular with the young kids these days.
You've seen it all week long. Cell phones out, Instagram accounts going, Twitter feeds. It's incredible.
If you're out there on social, don't forget to tag Triple Crown Sports. Hashtag TC Sports. 3-1 now on Mosley. And that one misses for ball number 4, so the bases are loaded. And that draws Chad Polk out of the dugout to talk to Shaw.
And I think what you got to say here, you're wondering with the heat that we've talked about, has been a long week, Thomas. 70 pitches so far today for Shaw. You wonder if he's starting to tire out just a little bit. But I think what coach is saying is we've got 2 outs here. We've got control of this game. Let's just see if we can't get this last out, work ourselves out of this inning, and let the bats do some more talking here in the bottom half.
A swift talk out there to Shaw. As Trey Sanders digs in at the batter's box, the pitcher trying to help himself out, get back into this ball game. Down by 3 with 3 on here in the 4th. Shaw takes a look. That one in the dirt. It gets by Polk. Coming in is Jones, and he'll be safe. So a pass ball scores a run, and it's 5-3.
Well, and I think what that tells you, Thomas, as we've mentioned, the fatigue, as you see his delivery here, not as crisp as it was in the early goings, and that ball fell just a little short. You think maybe that might start to be catching up to him a little bit, and I'm fairly certain that's what coach is thinking as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see them starting to get somebody in the pen and get warmed up here soon. But, you know, you hate the way this kid's pitched thus far, bring him out of the game after pitching such a good few innings. But with the bases loaded, all of a sudden there's still 2 outs. Don't get me wrong. They're not in a bad position here, but a base hit, and all of a sudden we've got a tie game.
Shaw to Sanders. That one also in the dirt. You know, something that you talk about with these 13 years old, a lot of times this is the first year they're playing on the big boy fields, the 60 foot 90 between the base pads there, and it's a big difference going from the 54-80s to the 60s.
And talking with some of the 13U coaches, Thomas, they said just that. You know, they're typically used to playing a lot of 54-70s. This 60 to 90, you're right, it is a big difference. And he just walked in a run there, no?
No, the first base was open after the.
Oh, excuse me. That's, yeah, okay.
Sanders does make his way to first. Bases are loaded once again. Brings up Burnin Wilkins. When you have so many repetitions, mounds.
Without a doubt, and after the course of a long summer, you develop habits and you get into doing things at a certain distance, and it's not something you necessarily think about until you get to something that is 60, 90, and you notice it, and it's evident. But we're in for most of these guys games, I think 6 and 7 of the tournament. So you'd think they'd have adjusted, but again, it's been a long week, and fatigue, I think, may have a little bit of a factor here in how Shaw's pitching, and he's having trouble locating all of a sudden.
We got a courtesy runner out. Fabian Guillen at first base. They throw back. Peck can't bring the tag down in time.
Boy, he was not expecting that. A good throw may have got him out of this inning.
Guillen out there with the white Astros uniform. A little bit different than the rest of his team. Maybe didn't get the memo on what color they were wearing today.
We got talking about that in the pregame, and not unusual to see that happen in some of these tournaments. These guys going all over the place and multiple uniforms, and my guess is he forgot to put that one in his bag before he left the house.
So that errant ball from Shaw draws Polk out of the dugout once again, and it seems we're going to get a pitching change here, and Hoover jogs over to the bench to trade his first baseman's mitt for a pitching one.
Kudos to Shaw. He pitched a solid few innings. Just tired out there a little bit towards the end. I think it's a great move by coach. Let's get a fresh arm in there. Let's stop this bleeding. Get out of this inning, and again, let the bats do the talking. Also, as we had talked about last game at the 14Us, Thomas, it's a long time for these kids to be out in the field in this heat, and they're looking forward to getting back into the dugout as well. Get a fresh arm out there, get this guy out if they can, and try to work themselves back into the dugout.
Josh Hoover comes from an athletic family, has 3 generations of pro athletes in his blood. His dad, an NFL linebacker with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the old Houston Oilers. He comes in relief here.
Says his claim to fame or proudest moment, Thomas, is becoming a Christian. Seems as though he's very well grounded.
So the Dallas Tigers trying to cling on to this 5-3 lead. The bases loaded, 2 outs. The count will stay 3-0 for Hoover. So Dallas jumped out to that early lead. East Cobb trying to claw their way back, and they've done so very diligently, Pierre.
They have, and again, they're a base hit away from tying this game up. You know, as a relief pitcher coming in and having that 3-0 count certainly is not advantageous to you. But coach recognized this is obviously a kid I think he expects and is confident he's going to throw strikes, which is obviously what you need at this point. Because one ball, you're a ball away from giving them a run, moving the runners, keeping them loaded. And getting yourself into dangerous territory, and all of a sudden that 4-run lead that they had built themselves is gone.
There's one last conference between Hoover, Walker Polk, and Thomas, who's playing first base now.
Boy, if that rain went through, it cleared up nicely here at the park, didn't it?
It did. Just a beautiful afternoon.
And I think it's easy for us to say in the press box with the AC. Our camera guys might think a little bit different of that, but
that one in there for strike number 1 from Hoover. So
exactly what he was brought in there to do. And you wonder what Wilkins is thinking here with the 3-1 count, if he's got the green light or if he's going to see if he can't work himself into a walk.
That one just inside.
And that's exactly what he did.
He did get the walk and will get the RBI as White will come to the plate. Wilkins heads to first, Yen to second. Willie Mosley to third. And that brings up Kane Collins. One in there for strike number 1.
Collins, the right fielder, I think he's looking to pull one if he can somewhere into right field and see if he can get.
There's one right into right field. Coming to score is Mosley. They'll hold Guillen at third. And all of a sudden, East Cobb creeping back into this ball game.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to hit behind the runners. He pulled that ball into right field, did a good job of getting that run home. They kept the runner there on third. I think at this point you've got the game tied up. You don't want to get too dicey, but coach, I was thinking was going to send him.
So 5-5 now after the RBI from Kane Collins. Brings up Leighton Lackey.
That's a nice bender there to start off this at bat. He did a good job of locating that thing. You typically don't see these kids throwing that first pitch curveball, but he did a good job of getting that one in there.
That one misses low. Some games finishing up around the park. The championship games, mentioned the overall club title up for grabs. That one swung on and caught by Jared Thomas at first base. What a diving play. Just in there at first base, and he holds him. Let's look at this one more time as Thomas, ranging to his right, makes a diving play, saves a couple of runs. We're tied up here at East Cobb, 5-5.
The Triple Crown tournament has invited a lot of the best travel teams in the country, and the competition was fantastic. The weather was perfect, so we couldn't be more happy to play here.
So you love your game? So does he. You say ain't nobody gonna work harder? He said the same thing. You get an hour of training in before the sun even comes up? Plenty of early risers out there. You got the gear, they got the gear. You got a secret weapon, this dude doesn't need one. See, this isn't just a game of inches. This is a game of ounces. And the next ounce you give might just be the one the other guy doesn't. Gatorade. Rehydrate, replenish, and refuel.
Welcome back to East Cobb, Georgia, where the Astros have tied the game against the Dallas Tigers 5-5, loading the bases a couple times. Jared Thomas finishing off the inning with a beautiful diving catch. We got a new pitcher here for East Cobb. Traylon White will take over the pitching duties from Sanders. Sanders did a nice job, gave up some early runs, but really kept them in the game and allowed their offense to tie up the game.
He did, and that's all it takes is a half inning there, Thomas. As we know, we've seen it all week, and they did a great job of battling back into this one, producing a few runs, and you get a fresh arm in there now. Suddenly this game takes on a whole new feel.
All right, well, we'll beat Jared Thomas, who finished off that inning with a web gem of his own to lead it off for the Dallas Tigers. And that one misses for ball number 1. Thomas 2 for 2 with 2 singles and a run scored this afternoon. That one right up the middle. Hammaker is under it. He will throw over to first to make the out. Nice play there from Hammaker, and there's one away here in the bottom of the 4th.
Yeah, I made mention early on as East Cobb found themselves down early. To see those guys coming off the field and the smiles on their faces, you'd have no idea that they were down so early. You knew they had the ability and the potential of coming back. They believed it, and you can see it even the way they took the field going out into this half inning, that they're feeling pretty good about themselves right now.
Jason Jones steps in against White. First pitch outside for ball 1. Attitude's so important, especially at the youth level. It's amazing what a positive attitude can do for you as Jones swings and fouls one back.
And just as amazing what a negative one can do for you at this age. And that's very important. The coaches, you can hear, when they talk at media day about the importance of keeping their kids under control. And again, they're developing not just as baseball players, but as young men, and teaching them to handle the emotions and the ups and downs that is a baseball game is very important, and they do a great job of that. I mentioned both coaches, both teams very well coached.
Swung on and missed there for strike 2 from Jones. A little aggressive there. Lost his elbow guard on that swing. There's one laced into center field. But right there to make the play is Leighton Lackey. Sometimes you try to hit them where they ain't, but that's why there's none on the field.
This is true. East Cobb, quick 2 outs here to get them back into the dugout after the half an inning they had. You think Dallas would have liked to have seen things extend here just a little bit, but they're very aggressive at the plate. That's the way they were early on, and they're carrying it right through.
So White to face Trenton Shaw. Shaw got the starting job here this afternoon. He's 1 for 2 with a single, an RBI, and a run scored. That one chopped towards first and foul.
Yeah, in addition to pitching a pretty decent game, he's done his job at the plate as well, and did a good job of helping his cause.
1-1 the count on Shaw.
Doesn't show a whole lot of emotion. He looks as though he's very well collected. And one of the more interesting things is, again, as we've mentioned, how these kids handle themselves, their demeanor and attitudes and emotions. They're having fun, but they're playing the game the right way, and it's just very, very cool to see.
White's here with his uncle as that one is lifted into left field. It will be a tough play. Coming in is Smith, and he makes the grab for out number 3. So a 1-2-3 inning for Traylon White. We're all tied up here at 5 at East Cobb. Welcome back here to East Cobb, Georgia, where it's all tied up at 5 between the Dallas Tigers and the hometown kids, the East Cobb Astros. Teams from more than 30 states are locking in their spots for the Triple Crown 2018 Omaha Slump Buster. So don't miss your chance to face competition from around the country and get tickets to see a College World Series game. Details are coming soon at triplecrownsports.com. Well, from one great event to the next, this summer just keeps on rolling, Pierre, and it kind of culminates with this U.S. Club Championships.
It absolutely does. And that Slump Buster, a huge tournament, upwards of 500 teams in that one, Thomas. You know, what a great atmosphere it's during the College World Series. The kids get to go to a game. And again, we've talked about how this is not just a baseball tournament. Triple Crown does not just run baseball tournaments. They give these kids, these families, experiences. And that certainly is a great example of that. I mean, it's a great atmosphere out there. It's electric with all that's going on. And for the kids to be a part of that, that's one of those things, you know, they're just not going to forget.
As Sutton Smith digs in here to lead off the inning. Hoover back on the mound for the Tigers. A ball just a bit outside for ball 1.
And East Cobb able to get off the field that last half of the inning after throwing only 9 pitches. Dallas, they've been aggressive.
That one laced into left, just foul by a couple of feet.
Again, another tip of the cap to this umpiring crew. They've been great all week long, battling this heat, and they've maintained great composure and professionalism throughout the tournament. It's very good to see.
Have to give all the umpires credit, not just these 4, but around the tournament, dealing with age groups from 9 to 14. You talk about how impressive these 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds have been here. I don't remember being that good at baseball when I was 9-year-old.
You know, I played baseball growing up, and it is incredible, the caliber of play, even at the 9U division. Again, these kids just having the times of their lives and played some good baseball.
As Hoover picks up that one, throws it over to Thomas for out number 1. So Hoover, who was brought in there just to throw strikes, getting his job done.
And we mentioned we'll be at the Battery outside of SunTrust Park here tonight. You heard the cheers in the background earlier. The neat thing about this event, as we had talked about, Thomas, is that this is you're playing for your organization. And so even these consolation games have a lot of meaning.
Hammaker grounds one to Peck. Peck will throw over to Hoover in time. No. Says the umpire just off the bag. So it will be an infield single for Ben Hammaker. And that brings up Thad Ector.
Good job of getting down the baseline there.
Ector digs in. One swung on and fouled back towards the Tigers dugout.
Thomas had a chance to try my first boiled peanut yesterday here at the ballpark, which is a southern specialty from what I understand. We couldn't get you to try one, though.
No, not much of a peanut guy, but the concessions have been great all week down here at East Cobb.
They have been. They do a very good job of taking care of the fans here. Fantastic, very good food. We've been treated well, so thanks to them, you're right. They do a good job down there.
One swung on a miss. Quickly in the hole, 0-2 is that Hector. Check the runner at first. Hector would either like to be a professional baseball player or an agent when he grows up.
We had one of the kids, I think, from the 14U teams was looking to become a lawyer, go into law, so that if he doesn't make it as a professional baseball player, he wants to stay around the game and do that in a capacity as an agent, which is interesting. And again, some lofty goals for these kids.
Hoover got the outside corner for strike number 3. 2 gone here in the top of the 5th. Take a look at this pitch right on the outside corner. Tough to look at that one. Strikeouts looking, got to be frustrating for a coach, Pierre.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, 2 strikes, you got to protect in a 5-5 game. Base hits mean more now as you get into the later innings, certainly. And yeah, you've got to protect. You've got to get a bat on the ball when you're in the hole like that.
Here's Jared Jones. 1 for 2, a single, an RBI, and a run scored today. That one in there for strike number 1. 1-1 the count now, as Hoover's done a pretty solid job, minus the infield single.
You know, he did a good job of locating that breaking ball there, and that's one of the things I've been most amazed by, is not just these kids' ability to throw those, but to throw them for strikes on a consistent basis.
One turned over.
Good
Jones
play.
has it, fires over to first. Not in time, though. What a play from Jason Jones, diving to his left. Just couldn't quite get the runner.
No, that was a gem there. He had to throw that ball a long way. And again, we mentioned the 60-90 for these kids. You know, at 13 years old, boy, he didn't beat that by much. Good looking play, though.
So that brings up Traylon White. And Traylon White yesterday had the game-winning 2-run triple against the Evo Shield Canes to keep East Cobb alive in their win 8-6. So looking to do something similar here with the game tied and 2 runners aboard.
Well, and a kudos to Josh Hoover. You know, Coach Polk brought him in here for this reason. That's to throw strikes. And he's doing it not just with his fastball, but on his off-speed stuff as well.
That one lined to left, and it's fair. Coming around is Hammaker. Jared Jones to third, and he's in there. Traylon White with a stand-up double, and he gets the go-ahead run again. East Cobb on top now, 6-5.
Boy, with 2 outs, that's a tough one. Did a good job of taking the ball the other way. He had a man on second, and he hit it far enough to get that runner home from second, and suddenly the Astros are ahead.
They've climbed all the way back down from 5-1. The Astros just plugging away, and Traylon White, mentioned, had the game-winning 2-run triple yesterday. It's a double today. The RBI as Fabian Guillen runs out to second base. The Astros fans loving that.
Well, he had plenty of room to work with out there in left field. Did a good job of getting his hands out in front and taking that ball opposite field.
Here's Dylan Lesko. That one is swung on and lifted to right field. Shaw is under it and makes the catch for out number 3. But East Cobb does the damage. They lead it now 6-5 after the RBI double from Traylon White.
So you love your game? So does he. You say ain't nobody gonna work harder? He said the same thing. You get an hour of training in before the sun even comes up? Plenty of early risers out there. You got the gear, they got the gear. You got a secret weapon, this dude doesn't need one. See, this isn't just a game of inches. This is a game of ounces. And the next ounce you give might just be the one the other guy doesn't. Gatorade. Rehydrate, replenish, and refuel.
Welcome back to East Cobb, Georgia, where we get a good look at what Media Day looked like here at East Cobb. Little press conference, a little podcast moment, the big trophy there. That's the club trophy, the Tidewater Drillers doing things. It was a special moment here on Tuesday.
It's always one of my favorite parts of this tournament that is coming down here, that opening day, Media Day. Everybody's excited, and you know, it's something a lot of these kids haven't had a chance to participate in. There's smiles all around, and I tell you what I was almost more impressed with than anything, as we've talked about, Thomas, is the way these kids handle themselves. You know, they're excited, they're having a great time, very mannerly, very polite, and it's a great experience for these kids. It was awesome to be a part of that.
So here's Walker Polk. Looks at ball number 1-1 on Polk as the Dallas Tigers try to draw back even after leading in this one. East Cobb gets a couple of runs, and now it's 6-5, swing and a miss, and down on strikes goes Walker Polk.
Well, and you like to see the hitters being aggressive, but I think if you're the Dallas Tigers at this point, you can see a hanging breaking ball there. That's not one he should have been chasing, especially that high in the zone. You know, you wonder, they had an early lead, or a healthy early lead. Suddenly this game's taken on a different feel for them. If you're coach, I think you just got to let them know to go out and do their thing. Be disciplined at the plate, not get too aggressive. Get yourself some men on base and work yourselves into scoring position. We've got a one-run game here with a little bit of ball left to play, so there's no need to be too rushed.
There's Jacob Delaney now on a 1-1 count. That one swung on, lifted towards left. Over is Smith as it will go out of play. 1-2.
You mentioned 315 down the line, Thomas, and that wall out there, probably a good 30 feet off the ground. Their version of the green monster, I guess you'd call that the blue monster.
Pitch outside for ball number 2-2. Delaney's favorite player, Domingo Ayala. And we've seen him walking around the park just this morning.
We did. Saw him walking around the park, and again, part of the experience. The kids look forward to seeing him. He was up here in the press box. We had a chance to chat with him, and closing rather ceremonies going on tonight at the Battery outside of SunTrust Park. Domingo will be in attendance, and you can bet that these kids are going to enjoy that.
Here's the 2-2 pitch. That one reached at and fouled. Back behind the third base dugout. Delaney digs back in against White. That one rocketed towards right, but foul. Got a lot of that one back towards the indoor batting cages.
Boy, he turned on that one.
That one swung on and right to Wilkins, stabs at it. What a fantastic play at first by Burnin Wilkins for out number 2.
So much focus gets put on these kids' offensive abilities and size at this level, but boy, again, one of the things I'm more impressed with is these kids, their ability out in the field to field these ground balls, and again, so polished, mechanics are there. It's very cool to see.
So here comes Josh Hoover, who's out there pitching and doing a fantastic job for the Dallas Tigers, trying to get something going here in the bottom of the 5th inning. He's 0 for 2 with an RBI ground out. First ball low and in the dirt.
Well, he would like to help his cause here and at least get on base, see if they can't extend the inning to one more batter.
That one just misses again. 2-0 now on Hoover. That one chopped foul over towards our cameraman, Nate Chu, part of the Triple Crown media team. That one swung on and laced into left. So Josh Hoover keeping things alive, keeping the inning going, gets a little 2-out single.
Well, there you go, bottom of the 5th. That's what he needed to do, is get on base. Interested to see here what they're going to do. With 2 outs, you can't afford to lay down a bunt and move the runner. Whether or not they're going to send him as we get a courtesy runner in there, my guess is some guy with some speed. I can't see who that is just yet, but if they can get him down to second base somehow and get him into scoring position in a 1-run game, that's huge.
I think that's Livingston. He's been the courtesy runner most of the afternoon. No, he jogs back. Josh Livingston will hand the helmet off to another player. That is Jackson Haynes. So Jackson Haynes running at first. Tommy Delaney will dig in. Pitch from White, high for ball number 1.
I think coach is probably telling Tommy Delaney to see if you can't work yourself into a count where something off speed might be expected. And
that one swung on to right field. Kane Collins under it, and he will make the grab for out number 3, ranging far to his right. Kane Collins able to make the grab, and East Cobb stays on top 6-5 over the Dallas Tigers. So let's take a look and see how we got to this point. It started in the first inning with the Dallas Tigers. Trenton Shaw got things going early and often for the Dallas team, scoring Owen Peck. But in the 4th inning, Shaw got in a little trouble here as East Cobb was able to score a couple of runs, some wild pitches. Josh Hoover took over on the mound. Chad Polk going to a different pitcher and ended up walking in a run, tying the game at 5 momentarily. And then East Cobb took the lead with more hitting, more production out of this East Cobb team. And they have the lead now, 6-5. This was at 5th inning. A laser to left from Traylon White, the RBI double. Had the game-winning 2-run triple yesterday. The go-ahead RBI double today. Pierre, it's been an exciting one.
It has. Early on, this game I had a completely different feel. As we mentioned, all it takes is a half an inning for a game to turn, and that's exactly what East Cobb did. They didn't beat themselves up too bad early on when they found themselves into a little bit of a hole. Came back in that 4th inning there, put some runners on base, and you know, we talk about the importance of limiting your walks, especially late in games, because all that does is extend things, and they'll come back to haunt you, and that's exactly what happened for the Dallas Tigers. And suddenly they're down a run and back here out in the field trying to do their best to limit it to just 1 run and work their way back into an opportunity to get the bats going.
And Josh Hoover here, who's on the mound for the Dallas Tigers, you know, really comes in, has a 3-0 count, really put in a tight spot with the bases loaded and 3-0. The walk really wasn't all his fault. He's been brought in to throw strikes, and he's done just that.
Well, that's what relievers do. That's their job, is to come in and throw strikes. But again, when you inherit a 3-0 count, you are put in a tough spot. And he did what he could with what he had, and you know, he got them out of the inning, limiting the damage, because to come in, like you had mentioned, in that tightest spot certainly puts a lot of pressure on him. But since then, he's handled himself pretty well and has done a good job settling in.
All right, so here we go with the top of the 6th inning. Willie Mosley digs into the box against Josh Hoover. Hoover gets the sign from Polk and just misses high and outside for ball number 1. That one outside for ball number 2. Two and 0 the count now. That one lifted towards center field. Caleb Bergman coming on, sliding and making the catch is Bergman out in center field. We've seen a couple of web gems today here, Pierre, and another one out in center.
I just made mention how impressed I've been with the fielding, and look at how far he has to run. He covers a lot of ground to get to the ball, keeps his eye on it, does a good job of laying down, and that's just a phenomenal catch. A great piece of defense, and that's something that we've been accustomed to seeing all week here. It's been fundamentally sound from the defensive end of things, and that is very, very refreshing to see at this age.
Added difficulty with the shade out there in center. Bergman with a very nice catch as Hoover throws one in there for strike number 1 against Sanders.
And even more important at this point in the game, Thomas, keeping runners off the bases. That would have been a leadoff runner on first or perhaps second or third, depending on how far that ball got. So that was a critical catch there and a great job.
That one outside for ball number 1. 1-1. With one away here in the top of the 6th. That one swung on right to Bergman again, getting a workout in center field. That one a little bit more easy as Bergman makes the catch. 2 away here in the 6th.
And that's your job as a center fielder. You got to cover a lot of ground. You got to have some wheels. You got to get to balls, and he's there for a reason, and that's obvious.
So that brings up Burnin Wilkins. Wilkins, who's played pretty well at first himself. That one swung on and missed. 0-1. He's walked, and that walk drove in a run for East Cobb. Swung on and fouled back quickly in the hole now. 0-2.
Yeah, and Joshua Hoover's got himself in a nice position here. 0-2. 2 outs. No need to give him anything too good to hit. See if you can't get him to chase something out and get out of this inning.
One just outside, but a nice location there for Hoover, trying to get something to chase. That one swung on and lifted into left through the infield. So a little 2-out rally maybe brewing here for East Cobb as Burnin Wilkins gets the single.
And as mentioned, I think what they were looking to do there, Thomas, is see if they couldn't get him to chase something out of the zone to get out of this inning. Polk behind the plate was set up outside. That ball ended up right down the middle of the plate, and they did some damage, and they're looking to extend this.
So here comes Kane Collins. That one swung on and missed as it gets away from Polk, and Wilkins will scamper over to second. And another runner in scoring position. Opportunity for the Astros here to get some insurance.
They would love to have that run come home, no doubt about it.
Talked a lot about how good the baseball here is in Georgia. I know it was a big point of emphasis as Collins chops one to Peck, and it gets away from his glove, goes into right field. Wilkins will stay at third. So the air brings runners on the corners, first and third.
Well, it looked from here, Thomas, that might have hit the lip there and took kind of a weird bounce. Created a little bit of difficulty. No damage done at this point. You got a runner on first, but the runner on third was unable to advance home. So they're still alive here.
Bringing up Leighton Lackey, but get back to what I was saying. Dallas, Texas versus Georgia. There's a lot of pride in Texas with their baseball, and certainly with this Tigers team.
Well, you mentioned that was a point of emphasis at Media Day. You heard coaches talking about the quality of baseball that's played not just in the Dallas area, but certainly in Texas.
Runner goes. Walker fires down. Runner coming home. Not in time. It'll be another run for the Astros as Wilkins scores.
Boy, that's a tough one. I think you need to hold on to that ball in that position. You got 2 outs. You don't want to give that runner on third any chance to get home. Heads up, play by the man on third, and did his job. He recognized that they were going down there and made his way home, got themselves an insurance run.
Now Hoover will check Collins over there at second.
But to continue, Thomas, you're right. That was a point of emphasis at Media Day. It was not just the quality of baseball in and around Dallas, but certainly around the state of Texas. East Cobb is what you continue to hear. We're in their facility, we're in their complex, so we're in their backyard. And you do hear a lot about the quality of baseball coming out of Georgia. And I think they wanted to come in here and send a bit of a message and say, hey, we're playing some pretty darn good ball down there in Texas. Don't forget about us. And they certainly have proved that over the course of this week, all across all divisions.
0-2 the count now on Leighton Lackey. We get some help out here with the foul balls. Hoover from the stretch. That one gets away from Hoover, and Collins will scurry down to third. And now another run just 90 feet away for East Cobb.
That's tough. You see him getting wild, and now that he's down to third base, a pass ball gets another run home. They need to get out of this inning and give themselves a chance here in the bottom of the sixth.
One in the dirt. 2-2 now on Leighton Lackey.
You know, with Lackey standing so far off the plate, I'm a little surprised to see they're not trying to pitch him away and see if they can't get one to go off the end of the barrel of his bat there and get themselves out of here. And that might be what they're trying to do this year.
One just low. Count runs full, 3-2. Hoover takes the sign. Swing and a miss, strike three. And that will end the inning, but East Cobb gets another insurance run. They take the lead 7-5. Welcome back here to East Cobb, Georgia, where the hometown kids have the lead 7-5 over the Dallas Tigers. Zephyr is pleased to be the official on-field cap of the Triple Crown U.S. Club Nationals. We offer the best combination of quality, customization, and price so you can outfit your team, no matter how big or small, with the best headwear on the field. Check out zhats.com for all that Zephyr has to offer.
Another one of the cool things about this tournament, we talk about the experiences. Representatives from Zephyr, Thomas, actually work individually with the teams on a design and a logo specifically for this tournament. And when they arrive here at Media Day and check in, they get their hats that are made strictly for them, and just a very neat thing for these kids.
John Calvin Davis with a single up the left side, and Davis, you mentioned, not the biggest player on the field, but certainly has a lot of heart. He's hit a couple of singles today and gets things going here in the bottom of the sixth.
He does the right things. He's got one job in that situation, Thomas. That is to get on base. Working into the later innings here in this game, they desperately need base runners, and they're looking to get him into scoring position and give some of the heart of that lineup a chance to get him home.
So here comes Owen Peck as the first pitch is in there for strike number 1. Peck led off this game with a double, ended up scoring a run. He's now 1 for 3. And that one towards Hammaker at second. He will flip to Lasco. They'll get over to Wilkins, but not in time. So they do get the lead runner. And Peck stays aboard,
which is the important thing there. They got the man who was going to be put into scoring position had they not gotten him. So they'll take that out. They're going to be satisfied with that. And again, some of the defense that we've seen here just fundamentally sound. That's good to see.
So now the first baseman, Jared Thomas, trying to restart the rally. Down 2 with just under 2 innings to play now. Shown bunt, the runner takes off, and Peck easily in there, galloping to second.
That's a big stolen base right there, Thomas. It keeps them out of the double play. More importantly, I think gets them into scoring position. A base knock here, they're suddenly find themselves down 1 and right back into the mix of this thing.
Thomas digs back in, 1-1 the count on him. Traylon White. That pitch in there for strike number 2. White's done a terrific job in relief of this game. Sanders got the start. Gave up the 5 early runs, but settled down nicely after that. Pitch outside, 2-2. And White is taking it from there. 35 pitches for Traylon. That one caught the corner. Two and two now on Jared Thomas. Called strike 3, and Thomas goes down for out number 2.
Big out right there. Big out, Thomas. You got to do a better job with 2 strikes of protecting the plate. He thought it was a little bit off, but apparently home plate umpire thought it caught enough of the plate to be called a strike. And now all of a sudden they went to having a man on first with nobody out to having a man in scoring position with 2 outs.
Again, I think it's just one of those pitches you just can't lay off. If you're a batter, you got 2 strikes, you're down by 2 runs. You have to protect the plate.
You've got to get something on that for sure. That's one of those pitches that I think he would like to have back, and I'm sure coach was telling him protect that plate. Anything even remotely close, you've got to get the bat on the ball. Very important, especially at this point in the game.
Jason Jones digs in. He's 0 for 2 with a walk back in the 2nd inning. That one in the dirt. A nice block back there by Hicks, the catcher. Hicks gives the signs to White. That one in there for strike number 1.
And Jones coming from a pretty athletic family himself. His dad plays baseball for both the Yankees and the Tigers. His mom played D1 basketball, so he's got some athletic genes running through his body as well. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, wants to be a neurologist.
Lofty goals for Jason Jones as he turns one over to third. Ector cannot make the play, and everybody will be safe. Runners at the corners now, and that tying run at first with Trenton Shaw now at the plate.
Well, and it looks like Ector may have taken, well, I thought maybe he had an in-between hop, but it did come up on him. And all of a sudden, they extend this inning, and a base hit at least gets them to within 1. Wondering whether or not they're going to try to send that runner on first and see if they can't get him into scoring position and be a base knock away from tying this thing up.
Shaw digs in looks at strike number 1. Shaw, of course, got the start for the Tigers. Gave up 5 runs. That's when Josh Hoover came along. That one in the dirt. 1-1 the count now on Trenton Shaw. White looks over at first. That one outside. 2-1 the count.
Good job of staying patient there at the plate and looking for your pitch, trying to do some damage, not get too aggressive.
I mentioned Shaw does have a twin. Also, brother Kendall, Cameron, and Jacob. 3-1 now on Shaw. Out of DeSoto, Texas. That one outside for ball number 4. So the bases are loaded and the tying run goes into scoring position.
Late inning walks can be disastrous. We talked about that earlier. All of a sudden, Traylon White unable to find the strike zone. He wasn't anywhere close on those last 3 pitches, Thomas. Way outside. And it looks like we're going to get a visit to the mound, and I'm not sure if they're going to make a change here, but it certainly would not surprise me. Again, it all depends, as we talked about earlier, where they're at with pitchers, what they have for arms. There is an innings limit, and so that's one of the things that puts these teams in some tough situations late in these ball games, late in the week, as we start to come down the home stretch. And that's where East Cobb, I think, at this point finds themselves. Is, they may not have a whole lot of arms to work with at this point.
Yeah, Ben Blumenthal out there to talk to his pitcher. And East Cobb, you know, such a great program, well versed in these kinds of tournaments. So you got to believe that they have the experience to get out of this inning. And they've seen everything. You mentioned 90-plus games this summer. Rarely a situation they haven't been in. Certainly this one on a much bigger stage. That ball high and inside for ball number 1 on Walker Polk.
Well, I think White's having some problems locating his keyhole. He's coming outside of the plate on left-handed hitters and inside to right-handed hitters, and that's what we're seeing right there. That one's a strike, which certainly helps him, but he's having problems finding the strike zone all of a sudden late in this inning. And this could be a huge one if Dallas is able to capitalize on this. A base hot knock gets 2 in, and suddenly we got a tie ball game.
Here's White. That one swung on and fouled straight back. 1-2 now on Walker Polk.
And he's got to protect here. Anything remotely close, he's got to get a bat on the ball. Bases are loaded. You never know what can happen. Even if he doesn't get a solid bat on it, putting that ball into play is the most important thing, and do not get caught looking.
It's the pitch from White. Time called by Walker Polk. Didn't like what he saw there from White. Opted to take a little bit more time. That pitch inside almost hit Polk. Runs the count even, 2-2. Here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th. The Dallas Tigers threatening with a tying run on second. Bases loaded for Traylon White. That hit Walker Polk. He will earn first base. And Dallas scores a run and keeps the wheel turning.
Well, as I mentioned, he was having trouble locating the ball. He was coming in on right-handed hitters and going away from the left-handed hitters. Something with his delivery there and his release point is just not working out in his favor. You wonder if it's late in the week, if he's getting a little fatigued, what might be attributed to that. But I think at this point, Coach Blumenthal's got to be wondering whether or not he needs to bring somebody else in there and see if they can limit the damage here and maintain this lead.
Josh Livingston will run out of the dugout to be the courtesy runner for the catcher, Walker Polk. Jacob Delaney steps into the batter's box for the Tigers.
That was a big hit by pitch there. He was up in the count in his favor, 1-2. And again, came too far inside, put a runner on first, scored a run, and great news for Dallas fans.
Just a one-run game here for Delaney with 2 outs and the bases loaded. Braylon White trying to find the strike zone, cannot there, 1-0. Delaney 1 for 2 with a double. He's been hit by a pitch. Also has an RBI in today's game. One more RBI would tie it. That one outside for ball number 2. Hicks wants to talk to his pitcher, White.
I think we've seen that same pitch, Thomas, probably at least 8 out of the last 9 times he's come to the plate. He's just having problems bringing that ball back in towards the plate, and it may end up costing him.
This long, grueling summer, and this tournament comes down to this final inning and a third here.
And Delaney's got to be patient unless it's the exact pitch he's looking for.
Outside for ball number 3, as you said it.
Yes, absolutely.
So 3-0. I would almost guarantee he's taking all the way here.
I think he's probably being told, do not swing the ball. Or the bat, rather.
That one outside, ball number 4, and the game is tied at 7.
Well, you got to wonder, our view, as mentioned earlier, is partially blocked here at East Cobb, down the right field line by some trees and some awnings, so I'm not sure if they've got anybody warming up, but Coach Blumenthal's coming out to the mound. I think you've got to get him out of there at this point. Limit the damage. You've already got a couple of runs given up here. It ties the game, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Take the pressure off this kid. And they've got nobody apparently warming up in the bullpen, so he's going to be bringing somebody either off the bench or out of the field to come in to throw.
Looks like Kane Collins jogging in from right field. White will jog out to left, so they'll do some adjustments here. And it was all going well for White until he lost control in this inning.
And we mentioned, walks this late in the game, especially with 2 outs, critical. 2 outs. That's the thing that needs to be stressed here. Is they're an out away from getting out of this thing and heading in to the bottom, or excuse me, the top of the 6th rather, top of the 7th, I guess I should say. And with a 2-run lead, they're an out away from doing that. And next thing you know, Dallas puts 2 runs across the plate. We got a tie game.
So it'll be Kane Collins to come in out of Hingston, Tennessee. Bulldog is his nickname. His mother Stephanie and father Bryant.
Well, and that error by the third baseman Hector also critical in this. That put Jones on, and then after that a walk given up by Shaw. And then another walk after that hit by pitch. Next thing you know, as I mentioned, we've got ourselves a completely different look to this ball game. I think this is going to energize that Dallas Tigers team who came out of the gate early. And then East Cobb kind of swung back, worked their way into this game, and started the 6th with a 2-run lead. And we're going to see what happens from here.
These two teams just going at it all week, and they've already met once in the bracket. Dallas Tigers getting the better of that matchup.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a history here, which makes this even more fun to watch, Thomas. And as we've mentioned and talked about, throughout the broadcast, all week we've seen a lot of great baseball. It's been a long week. I couldn't think of a better way to end this than with these two organizations, these two teams who are familiar with one another. In a 7-7 tie here in the bottom of the 6th, bases loaded, 2 outs. Unsure what's going to happen here, but no doubt about it. This next inning and a half or inning and a third, I guess, should prove to be pretty entertaining.
So here comes Josh Hoover, who has a fantastic opportunity to get the go-ahead run here in a crucial spot in the bottom of the 6th with 2 outs. Swings on the first pitch he sees, and a little bit ahead of that one.
Yeah, he's just a little bit ahead. I think he's a little aggressive. That was not a bad pitch to hit, but you can see he brought that down the left field line there, and he was just out in front of that a bit.
So Hoover settles in. That one hit Hoover, and that will score Shaw, and Dallas takes the lead 8-7.
Big time there again. We talked earlier, Thomas, the job as a reliever is to come in and throw strikes. East Cobb has been struggling to throw strikes this entire inning, and the first pitch out of his hand as he enters the ball game here ends up putting a runner on first and another runner across the plate. Suddenly Dallas out of nowhere has an 8-7 lead.
So here's Tommy Delaney, and that's thrown behind him. No, it hit him, said Gary Maxwell, the umpire. So another run in 9-7 Dallas, and this all with 2 outs.
And you can see the frustration on Canes Collins' face there. Obviously, he's not happy with the result. And if you're Coach Blumenthal, you've got to wonder what's going through these guys' mind all of a sudden, and whether or not they're starting to get a little rattled.
So in steps John Calvin Davis, leading by 2, and all he's done is go 2 for 3 with a couple of singles at the left side. That one in there for a strike. 1-1 the count now on John Calvin Davis.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Thomas, it was John Calvin Davis who led this inning off and got himself going on first, and from there it's really snowballed in their favor.
Off-speed pitch misses outside. 2-1. From down 2 to up 2. Calvin Davis hits one. That's a blooper to right. Coming on to make the play is Sanders. He cannot.
Oh, boy.
And in comes a couple of more runs, and John Calvin Davis puts his hands to the sky and says, how about that? All of a sudden, the Dallas Tigers with a commanding lead.
Looks like Sanders, the right fielder, might have got that ball on the heel of his glove and wasn't able to contain it. You know, he stressed the importance, especially at a young age, of using both hands. And I think he thought he had it. I thought he had it there for a second time, so I wasn't sure what happened.
I thought he had it, but nonetheless, John Calvin Davis does his job. A couple more runs in.
Man, good for John Calvin Davis. As we mentioned, he's one of the things he thinks is most unique about him is the fact that he is the smallest one on that team. But he may be small in stature, but he's had a huge impact on this game. And really, as I mentioned, he's the one that got this thing started this inning.
Runners on the corner now for Owen Peck. As the lineup turns over, that one in there for strike number 1. Owen Peck got everything started in the first inning with a double. Was his only hit today, but he has scored 2 runs. That one swung on shot towards third. It will be foul.
Again, if you're a coach, Thomas, with 2 outs, all this damage done, I mean, it's your absolute worst nightmare. This late in the game, things just all of a sudden, the wheels for East Cobb seem to be falling right off.
That one swung on lace towards right. That one will drop, and another run will score as Tommy Delaney crosses the plate. Owen Peck with his second hit gets another RBI. The Dallas leads it 12-7.
Credit to the Dallas pitcher, or excuse me, the Dallas hitters too, Thomas. As we've mentioned, East Cobb having trouble locating the ball, having trouble throwing strikes, but when they get something good to hit, they jump all over it. They've done some damage, and again, now all of a sudden, 5 runs. East Cobb finds himself down.
Jared Thomas comes to the plate. That one fouled straight back for strike number 1. Just an amazing inning for this Dallas Tigers team. We've seen it from teams all across this tournament, Pierre, being able to put up big spots in big-time moments.
Well, let's not forget East Cobb's got plenty of bats, plenty of power, and a lot of ability to put up runs in a hurry on their side. I mentioned earlier how impressed I was with them after that huge early lead that Dallas was able to build. Even coming off the field, you could still see they believed in themselves. They were able to work themselves back into this game in a hurry. They're going to need to do that here in the top of the 7th if they want to go home and say that they're the 13-year champions. They've got a lot of work ahead of them, but again, East Cobb does have the ability to put up runs in a hurry, and they've been able to compose themselves very well over the course of this game. They're going to need that again.
That one swung and lifted to center field. Sutton Smith under it and makes the catch for out number 3, but 7 runs come across for the Dallas Tigers, and they have a 5-run lead, 12-7, headed into the 7th inning.
The Triple Crown tournament has invited a lot of the best travel teams in the country, and the competition was fantastic. The weather was perfect, so we couldn't be more happy to play here.
Triple Crown Sports!
So you love your game? So does he. You say ain't nobody gonna work harder? He said the same thing. You get an hour of training in before the sun even comes up? Plenty of early risers out there. You got the gear, they got the gear. You got a secret weapon, this dude doesn't need one. See, this isn't just a game of inches, this is a game of ounces. And the next ounce you give might just be the one the other guy doesn't. Gatorade, rehydrate, replenish, and refuel.
Welcome back here to East Cobb, Georgia, where the Dallas Tigers have scored 7 runs in the 6th inning to take the lead 12-7. There is John Calvin Davis, who did a little bit there, especially scoring those last runs with getting on board on the air. But 3 more outs here, Pierre, and it's all over. East Cobb went from controlling this game to now they need a rally.
Incredible bottom half of the inning for Dallas. They had 2 outs. East Cobb had 2 outs on the Dallas Tigers. They scored, as I mentioned, the importance of limiting late in the game walks and putting runners on base. With 2 outs, Thomas, they scored 7 runs in the bottom half of that inning. And suddenly, as you'd mentioned, you talk about the games taking a turn. This one certainly has taken a turn in a very, very bad way for East Cobb. They got a ton of work to do here if they want to go away with a 13U championship.
It'll be Sutton Smith to lead off. We do get the top of the order for East Cobb. They'll face Josh Hoover, and Josh Hoover says he loves to compete, and there's nothing more than right now. And here's a ball lifted towards the right side. Thomas is under it, and he's able to make the catch for out number 1. That's the 2nd time Jared Thomas has flashed the leather at first.
What a good job of tracking this ball. You can see he never took his eye on it. He knew that wall was coming up on him. And again, he's not extremely familiar with this park, obviously. These guys are from Dallas. He did a great job of keeping his eye on that ball in an unfamiliar territory for him as a first baseman in an unfamiliar park. And great play by the first baseman there to get them 2 outs now away from walking away from this one.
Here's Ben Hamaker, and now Josh Hoover is starting to pitch with a little confidence here as he has 1 away here in the top of the 7th. Already 1 strike. That one is swung on and laced to center. Bergman will pick it up, so Hamaker able to get aboard and maybe start something slowly, at least, for East Cobb.
Journey of 1,000 miles, as they say, Thomas, begins with a single step. In this case, maybe a single runner. They're looking to get guys on. They're going to do everything they can to move him. They've got some bats, and as mentioned, the ability to put up some runs, so we'll see if they're able to do anything with it.
Here's Thad Ector. Ector looks at ball number 1.
Ector looking for a little redemption. Remember, it was his error at third that helped extend that inning, the last half of the inning. So he's got to be feeling a little beat up over that, and he's looking to redeem himself at the plate.
The pitch from Hoover. Swung on into left field. One will get down. Back-to-back singles from East Cobb, and they've got a little rally themselves here, brewing with one out in the top of the 7th. Nice job from Ector going the opposite field to left. Brings up the DH, Jared Jones. Hoover takes the sign from Walker Polk. That one swung on and missed for strike number 1. Good off-speed pitch to start the at-bat.
That was a very nice off-speed pitch. It looked like it was going to start or come in on the right-handed hitter there and worked its way back over the plate. Very good pitch.
Hoover settles in. That one fouled back. Quickly in the hole now is Jones, 0-2.
And that's that same pitch that we just mentioned. You can tell that Josh Hoover is very comfortable with that. Throws it for strikes. And again, these kids at a young age who are able to not just throw those, but to throw them for strikes, it's very impressive. This is his go-to in the late innings, apparently.
That pitch hit towards second, caught. They'll throw it over to Peck. A double play to end it. The Dallas Tigers, the dock pile to finish. They are your 13U U.S. Club Nationals championships here in 2017. What a defensive play to end that one, Pierre.
What a great one. We've been talking about it from the beginning of the broadcast, Thomas. The fundamentally sound defense that we've seen here all week, not just from the Dallas Tigers, but across the board. We saw some beautiful defense, and here's another, again, example of just that.
John Calvin Davis at shortstop. What a finish of this one. We mentioned it, John Calvin Davis, not the biggest kid on the field, but certainly might have made the biggest impact today.
How fitting was that he's the one that made that play to end the game? I mean, just good job by the little guy. He makes no attempt at hiding the fact that he's small, but I think he's comfortable with that because of the job that he does on the field. He did a great job on the base pass behind the plate, and right there defensively showed that I think you've got a pretty strong case for an MVP there, perhaps.
Well, this championship wraps up the 2017 U.S. Club Nationals, Pierre, and it's been a great one. We've seen some fantastic baseball. The Dallas Tigers able to get the better of Georgia in this one. East Cobb, of course, getting the better of Virginia in the 14U matchup. But what a week and what an opportunity, and what some great baseball this week.
Without a doubt. We couldn't have asked for anything better. Triple Crown's done a great job of the 2017 USA Nationals here. It's been very well represented by teams and organizations from across the country. The baseball itself is over, which is unfortunate because it's a little bittersweet. It's been a long week, but we've seen some incredible baseball. What a great week, and what a great way to cap it off. Congratulations to the Dallas Tigers, who wanted to come out here and prove that Texas was full of talent, and they made a statement.
So for Pierre Longoria, I'm Thomas Hoffman saying so long from East Cobb, Georgia, where the final score is Dallas Tigers 12, East Cobb Astros 7. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live on the ESPN app, or to watch this entire game on replay, as well as other games on our family of ESPN networks. Log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.